When the camera shows you, you talk. Okay.
Welcome to Get It Growing, the gardening program of the Lafayette Parish Master Gardeners. Today we're honored to have with us Dan Gill, who is the author and co-author of 2 wonderful gardening books for Southern Louisiana. In other words, a person who really knows what he's talking about. Dan has also been working on a great new calendar called appropriately Get It Growing. Tell us a little bit about your calendar.
Well, this calendar is in its 3rd year. It's done by the LSU Ag Center, and it's a wonderful calendar. It's got beautiful, beautiful pictures. It includes a great article on our native Louisiana iris and the hybrids that it has been bred from them, all how to do that. And then as you go through the year, you'll find that you've got gorgeous pictures to inspire you along the way, wonderful hints of what needs to be done from year to year in your calendar from month to month, all kinds of little hints here. And these are available from the LSU Ag Center. You can find them at our website. It's www.lsuagcenter.com. And it's a wonderful calendar for gift giving this time of the year, for all those gardening friends that you might have as well. It's called the Get It Growing Lawn and Garden Calendar, full of beautiful pictures, lots of great advice available at our website.
And you would be able, it would be really wonderful, you could make your gardening notes right on here in addition to, you know, all the usual appointments and everything that we have to do. Save it from year to year and save yourself from making the same gardening mistakes the next season.
Good point, Janae.
We here in Louisiana are blessed with 2 wonderful growing seasons, and we're coming on to our second, some say, you know, the best growing season, and we have the opportunity to play in our gardens again.
Well, we do, and I love this time of the year. Indeed, really, the cool season flower garden is so much more pleasant to take care of because the weather is so much nicer through the winter here. The plants that you've gotten together from the area nurseries here are all hardy. That is, the winter temperatures that we're going to have are not going to bother these at all. So it's not something that you have to worry about, oh, I've got to run out and cover my pansies if it's going to freeze that night. They love the chilly weather. There's a super advantage for planting this time of the year. I know there are gardeners out there that see pansies blooming their heads off in April next year, and they're going to run out to their nurseries and buy pansies in April and get 1 month of flowers off of them. But if you spend the same amount of money on pansies now, you get flowers through November, December, January, February, March, April. So all those months of flowers for the same investment. So I'd encourage all the gardeners out there that are thinking about putting in some cool season bedding plants. Now is the time to do it to get that great money's worth from your plants.
We've finally gotten enough cool weather, finally, to go out and have fun in your garden.
Right.
And what a choice we have available to us, really.
Oh, it's amazing. Every color you could want, every height, every shape. There are tall plants for the background. Big old snapdragons are wonderful for that. Low-growing plants like violas, and you've got a great selection here. Let's take a view at a couple of them. Now, this lovely little plant right here is grown for its silvery foliage. It's called Dusty Miller. It's quite hardy and actually be a perennial here. It may live for several years in your garden, but very hardy, and it produces a nice silvery look in the garden. It's wonderful to edge beds with it or use it between bright colors. 2 of my favorite, most reliable cool season bedding plants are pansies, and they have these nice large size flowers you see right here, and violas that have much smaller flowers. Now, I know lots of gardeners out there that walk right past the violas and go to the pansies because they don't want those small flowers. That's a shame.
It is, because I really think that violas give you more bang for your buck.
I think they do. They really cover themselves with flowers. They're very strong, they're resilient, they have a wonderful amount of stamina. So I tell all the gardeners, as you're thinking about buying your pansies, buy some violas and try them out in your garden.
Right.
I think you're going to be as pleased as the rest of us in how they perform. Again, very reliable. Now, these plants both like a good deal of nutrients, so make sure you put some fertilizer in the bed and then hit them with a little soluble fertilizer every now and again through the growing season.
Right. I really don't think, do you really think you could over-fertilize a pansy? I don't think you can. I think they're such, a hardy feeder. They sort of remind me of a rose bush.
I watch mine, and anytime they look a little slow growing, the color isn't that deep green I'm looking for, I get out soluble fertilizer, hook it up to my hose, and give them a nice dose of it.
I think we tend to under-fertilize them.
Those 2 in particular?
I really do. I think, you could almost hit them weekly, just stay in a routine. And these do come in all colors. We just happened to pick up the purple, but there is a wonderful variety of colors. There's into the oranges, there's the pansies with the little faces that the children love, the majestic giants. So you can have just fun, you know, in a color palette, picking those that you particularly like.
There's probably a greater color range among the pansies, from reds and oranges and yellows all the way down to the true blues and purples, except for maybe green. That's about the only one I haven't seen yet.
Right. And that's coming, I'm sure.
Well, you brought in some other really great ones, and another extraordinarily reliable and really super cool season bedding plant are these great Dianthus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're called pinks, and sometimes people say, well, is that because the flowers are pink? And they're called pinks because the petals have this kind of jagged edge, the same kind of look you get if you used pinking shears on fabric.
Right.
And so the pink comes not from color, but pink comes from this jagged edge to the flowers. Many of them have a wonderful fragrance. They bloom their hearts out month after month through the growing season. They're a wide variety now, and you got to be careful with what you're selecting. Make sure you're getting what you're looking for.
Right. I didn't grab, unfortunately, I meant to, some of the little blue-green foliaged Dianthus
those are
too.
nice.
Those are nice.
This one is a new one on the market, this Amazon. Very tall growing Dianthus, very heat resistant, strong and resilient, but these are nice low growing. Tall Stars and others are nice low growing plants, while some of the other Dianthus will get on up to be a foot, maybe a foot and a half tall. So it's a good idea to look at the label very carefully when you're buying these plants to make sure you're not just getting the colors that you want, but you're also getting the height of the plant, the size of the plant that you're looking for as well.
And what about their fertilizer needs?
They're not quite as heavy feeders as the pansies. I usually give a nice fertilizer application when I do my bed preparation, a little 15-5-10 or 8-8-8, and then I watch them. And if during the course of the season it looks like they need a little extra boost, I'll either sprinkle a little bit more of the granular fertilizer about halfway through the season, maybe in February or early March, or again hit them with a little soluble fertilizer.
Now, do you use full strength or half strength if you're using soluble?
For me, I use the hose applicator,
okay,
and that
so it
automatically proportions it. So because I have a big bed to do, and that's much easier to do, but if I was going to mix it myself, I'd probably mix it a little bit less strong than the label recommended and then use that.
Yeah, that's what I tend to do if I'm applying it fairly often, is back off a little bit on the strength.
I kind of passed up this cute little Gerber Daisy you brought in as well. We think of them as potted plants or indoor plants, but they're remarkably hardy and will tend to perennialize here and come back year after year.
Well, the reason I grabbed this particular little plant is because we're having trouble in the demonstration gardens keeping them alive, and as individual gardeners too, we're evidently doing something wrong. You know, we're conscious of keeping the crown level. We think we have good beds with good drainage and pH, but we're making some common mistake.
I might have a hint for you here, and that is we grow two different kinds of Gerber daisies. There are the pot Gerber daisies or greenhouse Gerber daisies, and then there are the garden Gerber daisies. This is a greenhouse type Gerber daisy, and you know them because they have short flower stems and hold the flowers close to the foliage because that's more attractive in a container. In addition, the flowers will have kind of a rounded look to them, and the petals are wider and broader. The garden Gerber daisies have leaves that are more deeply cut, more like dandelion leaves.
Okay.
The flower stalks are much taller than the foliage, and the petals are narrower and pointed at the end. And it's sort of more the wild type. Those are the ones that reliably come back for us, and those you're going to find more often in cell packs in the spring rather than in these larger pots. So although these are more spectacular and more beautiful in some ways, they're nice and short, they're not going to live as long in your garden as those older types will.
Well, that's our solution then.
Ought to help you out some.
Good. We'll try that and let you know how it works.
Well, you got a couple of others, and these are so neat. Ornamental cabbage and ornamental kale. And one of the most common questions I get with these plants is, can you eat them? And this is cabbage. I mean, pure and simple, this is cabbage, and pure and simple, this is kale. But these cultivars have been bred and selected for their ornamental qualities rather than eating qualities. So although you could eat them, you really wouldn't want to. Now, they don't look like much when you purchase them. You've got to have your imagination going when you buy these plants. But they're going to get much larger, a good foot across. And right in the middle, they're going to become highly colored. Whites, pinks, lavenders, purples, even almost purplish red colors. vibrant in the garden and very unique in their appearance. Now, if you want, you can always get a few leaves and use them to garnish vegetable platters and things like that, but mostly we leave them in the garden.
And this is an important point. You know, we mentioned reading your label, because these little plants are so nifty in the little 4-inch pots. You don't tend to think that it's going to be 12 inches across, and many people plant them too close, and it really takes away from it detracts from the beauty of your plant. You want to have a big platter-sized plant, not two plants jabbing into each other. So it's always important to read the labels that come with these plants. And they're really so nifty now with the gardening information and the color photographs. It really helps any gardener get the information they need.
I love this one that you got right here. One of the unique things about this peacock cultivar, and it comes in a variety of colors, is the leaves are especially finely cut. Right. Most of the kales just have a frilly edge to the leaves. This is really cut, and I like it because these plants are prone to caterpillar damage. And one of the leading causes of problems is a caterpillar problem. But here, because the leaves are already so finely cut, you can hardly tell if the caterpillars feed on them, and they don't feed on them as much. I think they look at those and say, oh, those have already been eaten up, so I'm going to move on to something else. But they're really, really beautiful in that way. Let's see. Oh, snapdragons, all the way over here on the side by you. Janae, those are one of my favorites as well. Now, something important you need to look at snapdragons is their height. Dwarf snapdragons are going to stay around about 8 inches tall. Right. Medium-sized snapdragons are going to be about 1.5 feet tall, and then there are tall snapdragons like the rocket snaps, and they'll get 3 feet tall and usually have to be staked or they'll fall over, but they're super for cutting.
But they're gorgeous.
Oh, they're great
just
for cutting.
Absolutely gorgeous.
And gorgeous in the back of a bed. But for most of us, we like the dwarf types and the semi-dwarf types because we don't have to stake them and they're a lot easier to take care of. With the snapdragons, unlike with the pansies and dianthus that tend to stay in constant bloom, snapdragons flush out flowers, and so they'll flush out a beautiful display of flowers, they'll fade away, and at that point it's really important to snip off the old faded flower spikes. This encourages the plants to send out more flowers, and so you're going to have waves of bloom. They'll be in bloom for a while, then they'll be out of bloom for a while, then they'll be in bloom again, and just get spectacular. One of the more heat tolerant of our cool season bedding plants. These may linger in your garden until late May or even the early part of June, so they're really good buy put in this time of the year.
Now let's talk a little bit. Now you can go into a nursery and have a choice of a little plant like this or a snapdragon already in full bloom. Now, we know what the answer is, but let's share it with everybody.
Well, here's something that you can look at. Now, this dianthus here and this bunch of the snapdragons, these are being sold in what's called a cell pack. And you've got, for one price, you got 6 plants here. Now, each of these plants is relatively small, but it's very well established. This is early in our season. This is the very beginning of our cool season, and it's far more economical to buy cell packs, even though the plants are smaller. Got that going here. Even though the plants are smaller, because they'll have plenty of time to grow in your garden. This might cost, say $1.75 at the nursery. You can also spend $1.75 on one single plant. Now, it's a bigger plant. It's got a nice root system going on it, but really, you don't have to buy big plants like this time of the year. We've got plenty of time for them to grow. So my advice to gardeners planting now, early in the season, is save your money and buy your cell packs, because you have to wait a little bit for them to develop, but it's well worth the money that you save. But on the other hand, gardeners that wait until February or March or even early April of next year to put some of these wonderful cool season plants in, they really should use these older, well-established plants, because there's not as much of the growing season for them to grow in. So right now, I'd recommend the cell packs. Later on towards the season, the 4-inch pots. If you want instant gratification and you got plenty of garden money, then you can certainly buy the 4-inch pots now and put them in. They'll give you a big display quicker.
Right. I just think a lot of people are afraid. You know, they get the mindset that, well, you know, sometimes you have to get what you pay for, and sometimes you really do. But I think a lot of people are afraid to experiment with the smaller plants, and they're going to grow just as reliably and pop. You know, when you get them in the ground and you know, get them in a fertilized bed, you'll be amazed at the growth you get from the little 6-packs too.
Absolutely. And we live in the age of instant gratification, but still we all have gardening budgets we have to stay within as well. And I'd much rather start off with these smaller plants this time of the year, and very rapidly they're going to get to be this size in just a few weeks. So you're really not getting a lot of advantage with these larger pots, unless you want them.
That's right. I mean,
I will tell you, it's a wrong thing to do. These petunias, a wonderful example right here. So you have a petunia in a 4-inch pot right here, and these 6-pack of petunias. And again, you pay about the same price for both.